On Business Beat this morning, in the midst of outrage over the controversial amnesty bill, Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra says time will prove her government right. Myanmar and Thailand have had their first corporate dispute over the FNN company. And Twitter Inc. priced its initial public offering above its expected range to raise at least $1.8 billion.
Sadika, a very good morning to you on this Thursday. Just one day until the weekend, folks. Boy, it definitely seems as if right now Thailand and the rest of the world is running a marathon, with the world taking a look at the various events that are happening, whether it be the central bank meetings and the direction of the QE taper, and here in Thailand, the amnesty bill. So let's take a look at the market snapshot for today. As you can see here, the issue of the tapering is still at the table, and a lot of analysts in the United States are now saying that perhaps maybe with the weaker reports that we're seeing this week, the QE taper could actually be postponed, opposed to the fact that earlier this week a lot of folks are saying, wait, it could actually come sooner than we expect. This day will also mark the ECB, or the Central Bank of the European Union, as they meet, and there is an expectancy that perhaps there will be a cut of the interest rate, as the market's composite PMI has been reported at 51.9 in October. That was less than September 52.2, as many say that the ECB still has room to post a cut with their interest rate. In the meantime, though, here in Thailand, we're seeing a back and forth of the forces, you could say, of the amnesty bill conflict versus the earnings seasons of the third quarter. So yesterday we saw the recovery of the stock market of Thailand, but still there was hesitancy because the streets are still full of protesters. So let's take a look at the Asian markets this morning here, as we're going to see the array of various red and green here, as the Nikkei 225 here is still in the red, down by 90 points, despite the fact that a lot of earnings have come out pretty good. For example, Toyota Motor opened unchanged after reporting a 70% surge in its quarterly net profit here, thanks to the weak yen. Also, we have online retailer Rakuten rising by 0.6% after its CEO slammed Abenomics, saying that there is a situation with the drugs online, as they are very much behind that business, and if there's going to be any cut of it, they will be hurt. In the mainland China here, we have the Hang Seng of Hong Kong slipping down by 100 points or so. Kospi in the red here, down by 1 point. South Korea has seen a fluctuation with concerns about the various inflows and outflows of markets movements from foreign investors. This morning, though, what moved the market wasn't about investment, it was about exams. Apparently, the university students are taking their college entrance exams, so the market opened an hour later. As the Southeast Asian region here, you see the chart is in the green, but as we all know, as I said, earnings are coming in for the third quarter, so we'll have to see how it'll play out later on today. As for the United States, up here, Dow Jones by 0.82%, while the Nasdaq here was pushed down by 0.2%, with the S&P 500 here upwards by 0.43%. As I just said, a lot of anticipation that perhaps the QE taper will be taking longer than expected earlier this week. As for the European zone, we are seeing also the anticipation for the ECB meeting today, as I just mentioned there. FTSE 100 down slightly by 0.08%. DAX index up by 0.35%, with the CAC 40 here behind me upwards by 0.79% respectively, as insurance stocks have posted the biggest gains in the regions, and everybody is just waiting for the results of the EU or the central bank meeting, as there could be a potential cut to their interest rate. So with that, let's take a look at the headlines for today. As we all know, the situation in Thailand is still developing minute by minute. One of the biggest issues is the Prime Minister, because she has come out as of lately very frequently now. Yesterday, we first saw her talking about how she will be leaving it with the Senate. The last that we heard from her last evening is that she says that the time will tell and will prove that the Thai government is right. She says at the Mataput industrial estate in Rayong province to journalists that the Democrat Party and the anti-amnesty protesters should understand that the government is doing what it is enabled by voters. And she says, although the government holds the majority of the House votes, we don't want to go against the people's feelings because the intention of this government is to see reconciliation. With the intervention being questioned here, she said that the legislation was proposed by the legislative branch via an MP's bill. The government, as the administrative branch, could not intervene in the process and would respect the final decision made by the Senate. The issues are, she says, between two main issues. The first is the amnesty bill, which is about the people's hardships, and the second, the political problems. Will the shadow of her brother, Kun Thaksin Shinawatra, the self-exiled former leader here, had also come out through social media to voice his concerns as well. Backing his sister, he had said that all these issues via his Facebook page of his legal advisor here, that he respects the public opinion on the amnesty bill, but refused to accept, quote, false accusations against himself and his family. He argued that the amnesty bill has been distorted by critics who say the legislation is intended to clear his name and help him reclaim seized assets confiscated by the courts. In reality, he says, the bill is intended to lead the country out of conflict and to ensure justice for all victims of the September 19, 2006 coup. He says, quote, my foremost wish is for the Thai people to have better livelihoods and a solid future, and for the country to be able to keep abreast with the changing world. It is very sad that some groups of politicians will continue to attack me with false accusations. The issues coming from the Pheu Thai-led party, though, say that they are very concerned because the Democrat-led protesters, as well as other groups, have said that they are still going to be on the streets, despite the Prime Minister saying that there's not going to be any resubmission of the bill, because they feel that they're not clear yet as to where the bill is now. There could be talks of another re-election, perhaps, some say. So with that in mind, the Pheu Thai have been very critical about their opposition, saying that really what has been done is according to the rule of law. As for the red shirts, they have also agreed with that. And about the Defense Ministry, they have also been sitting on the sidelines, waiting and monitoring the situation as they call for peace from all sides. Well, as today we wait for that situation to clear up, another conflict apparently has risen up in the ASEAN region between Thailand and Myanmar in a potential first time in history corporate dispute, as the FNN venture by the Thai tycoon Kun Charoensiri Wattanaphakdi has now brought some tension with the Myanmar company that is named Myanmar Brewery, formerly owned by Asia Pacific Brewery, or APB, and later by FNN. This first corporate dispute had emerged with the Myanmar company having launched arbitration proceedings against the FNN company. Myanmar Economic Holdings Limited, or MEHL, a military-backed conglomerate, announced yesterday that it has begun arbitration with the FNN over the dispute. MEHL says in a statement that it has had a clear right under their joint venture or JV agreement to buy FNN stakes in Myanmar's brewery. Since MEHL sought to exercise its rights to buy the FNN's stake in April, there have been a number of media reports suggesting that this dispute was a test, really, about Myanmar's investments laws and that of foreign investors. And this is a very big precedent case for a lot of business investments in the country. Contractor rights, they say, according to authorities, are according to the latest laws that have been drafted up. And with a rare public announcements here, the MEHL has mentioned its belief that contractual rights should be protected, whether the aggrieved party was a foreign or a local entity, private or state-owned. Myint Aung, also of the government here, has said that the JV agreement protected the MEHL's rights in the event of a default by the FNN. With that in mind, we'll have to see how the situation will proceed as the days comes. As the SEA Games is coming up, the election is coming up in Myanmar, and with this in mind, it could pose a potential threat between the relations between the two neighbors. Here in the world, though, of technological sector booming in the stock markets around the world, what made the headlines this morning is Twitter, as it has finally launched its IPO, or initial public offering, actually above what is expected to raise a total amount $1.8 billion. This comes as Twitter has priced its IPO over than expected. The microblogging network now has priced 70 million shares at $26, above the expected range of $23 to $25, which has already been raised once before. There have been many comments from different sectors here. We have a comment here from Gabriel Khan, a journalism professor, on the situation.
The trajectory of the Twitter IPO is going to be significantly different in a lot of ways than what we saw with Facebook. On the one hand, they have Facebook as a negative example to use as to sort of the steps not to follow. That is, make sure that you're actually listening to your investors, demonstrate that you actually do care about the stock price, and if you can do that, you'll probably avoid a lot of the early pitfalls that Mark Zuckerberg fell into.
Well, the IPO values Twitter at $14.1 billion with potential to raise $14.4 billion if underwriters exercise an over-allotment option, as they are widely expected to. If the full over-allotment is exercised, Twitter will raise $2.1 trillion, making it the second largest internet offering in the U.S., behind Facebook's $16 billion IPO last year and ahead of Google's Inc.'s 2004 IPO, according to Thomson Reuters agencies. Some analysts say they expect shares of Twitter to experience a small pop during the first day of trading. 12-month price targets on the stock range by between $29 to $54. With its public float here, it comes at a time with the strongest market for the U.S. IPO since 2007, as equity markets soared and uncertainty around the U.S. debt ceiling has been largely subdued or subsided for now. As the story develops, we'll give you the latest on the situation, but now that's the latest headlines for this hour. It's time now to take a look at the various terms and economic slang here for our Thai viewers. ถึงเวลาแล้วนะคะที่จะอัปเดตกันกับคำเศรษฐกิจในภาษาอังกฤษนะคะคุณพลวัฒน์คุณอิสรีพร้อมยังคะพร้อมแล้วค่ะค่ะวันนี้นะคะเราจะเรียนคำว่า lemon lemon คือมะนาวใช่ค่ะใช่แต่ในสายเศรษฐกิจนั่นคือการลงทุนนะคะคือมันมีอีกความหมายหนึ่งที่อาจจะเป็นแง่ลบนะคะไปดูกันนะคะคือว่าเป็นการลงทุนที่ไม่เป็นไปตามคาดหรือขาดทุนนั่นเองค่ะเมื่อคุณเข้าไปลงทุนในหุ้นหรือเซกเตอร์ใดแต่ว่ามันได้ผลกำไรออกมาน้อยกว่าที่คาดเราเรียกว่าเลมอนเองค่ะ
เลมอนนะคะโอ้โหวันนี้เป็นแสลงศัพท์ใหม่นะคะสำหรับบางคนที่อาจจะไม่ทราบนะคะ
นักลงทุนฟังแบบนี้แล้วไม่ทานน้ำเขาเรียกน้ำมะนาวเลย
แก้เคล็ดไปก่อนเลย
นะกลัวเดี๋ยวการลงทุนไม่ดีนะครับ
ค่ะแล้วก็นี่คือทั้งหมดของ Morning News นะคะติดตามกันมาตั้งแต่ 6 โมงเช้านะคะขอบคุณมากที่ร่วมกันแล้วก็พูดคุยกันมาตลอดทั้งรายการนะคะพรุ่งนี้เราพบกันใหม่นะคะวันนี้เราทั้ง3คนลาไปก่อนนะคะสวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ